living in the time of greatest opportunity. There's a massive movement towards entrepreneurship, massive, okay? But there are also lots more options available out there for entrepreneurs. This is not the only option. So you have to understand the values that this industry provides by comparison to somebody else. So I had a friend of mine, Charles. He got involved in one network marketing opportunity, said this was it. He was going to get rich, and then he quit, and he got a new one, you know, and then he calls and he says, this is the one. This is so fantastic. And then he quit, and he got a new one. He did that 4 or 5 times, right? And then he went in and somebody sold him on the idea of buying a franchise. But he had to come up with $500,000. Charles didn't have $500,000, but he drained the equity out of the dream home that they were living in at the time, drained his daughter Emma's college fund, and then he had the audacity to ask his mother-in-law, who had recently been widowed, who had had her house paid off after 40 years, if she would take a second on her house to come up with the rest of the money so that he could buy the franchise and do the construction build-out to open up his first store. So he got the $500,000. Well, today he has about 4 stores, and he's relatively successful. But a couple of years ago, he finally admitted to me, he says, you know, I hate my life. He says, I have to go to work every day, and I have just to run around a bunch of teenagers that are called my employees, and at every turn, they're trying to leave early, they're trying to show up late, they're trying to steal the inventory. He says, you know, I got shipping problems, I got spoilage problems. He says, I've got marketing pressure challenges, I've got unemployment tax, I've got government regulations on healthcare issues. He says, I hate my life. He said, if I'd only been as serious as I had to be in this business with any of the network marketing companies that I was involved in before, he said, not only would I be $500,000 richer and my mother-in-law off my back, but I would be far wealthier with a far greater lifestyle than I have right now today. If only I would have taken it more seriously when I had the opportunity. So, don't be a Chuck. The opportunity's in your lap right now, right here. Let me show you your options. I'm in entrepreneurship. I have no vested interest in the direct selling industry. None. We're a success. We represent all of entrepreneurship. I'm giving you an outsider's perspective. I am not a distributor of this organization or any organization in network marketing or direct selling. I am an ambassador for all of entrepreneurship. So let me show you the entrepreneur options. You can start a business, a traditional business. It's going to cost you between $500,000 and $1 million, okay? You're going to have to come up with the money some way, somehow. 90% of those fail within the first 5 years. The failure rate after you spend $500,000 to $1 million is 90%. Good luck with that. Here's what you don't expect. The money and time it takes to build that business. The experience it takes, the competition pressures, the marketing and technology that you don't know anything about, the employee management, healthcare, theft, the liability that goes into it. So maybe an easier path is to go buy a franchise because they got kind of a cookie cutter process, right? They do a little bit of the marketing. There's a little bit of PR that goes along with it. They give you the manuals and the training of how to go and connect the dots. So you can buy a franchise. That'll cost you between $100,000 and $1 million, depending on what franchise you buy, okay? Here's your success rate with that. 1 in 3 go broke. Still got a 33% chance that all the money, time, and energy you put into it isn't going to work. Here's what you don't expect. All you did is buy a job. Now you're working the cash register, you're sweeping the floor, or you're babysitting teenagers and college kids running your franchise. You have little control, non-negotiable contracts, an ongoing franchise and royalty, required fees, and you've got employee management, theft, and liability. Okay? Those are your options. You could become a contractor. There's a lot of people who are being laid off, and they're coming back and being hired back as consultants or contractors to the employers that they once were employed by. So you could become a contractor, and you could lend out your services for a fee, okay? Here's what that looks like. Better have 6 to 12 months of money in the bank because you're going to go through it as you try to build up this business. It's hard to get your name out. The referral takes a long time, inconsistent income. You're constantly unemployed. When you're not trading your time for money, you're unemployed. You wake up every morning unemployed. You have no asset. There's nothing you can sell. There's no value of equity being built. Or you can get involved with a direct selling organization like this one here. Let's look at the option. I'm just giving you straight up factual options here. There's no significant investment required, right? I mean, I think you don't even have to buy or to sell anything here. If you choose to step up and get yourself some tools, get yourself the proper getting started, $500, not $500,000, not something you need to go borrow from your mother-in-law, $500 at max. You don't even need to have an original idea. BK's got the ideas, right? You don't even need to have the idea of your own. You don't need any research and development. You don't need to have your own bottling plant. You don't need to come up with all this fancy branding and packaging. You don't need to source the product. You don't need to get it made. You don't need to handle the accounts receivables. You don't need to do the payroll. You don't have the legal liability, no branding, no governments, no restrictions. Anybody who's ever owned their own business knows how serious this conversation is. If you've never been in traditional business and see the contrast and comparison to what this is by comparison, that's why I'm giving you this context now, because you have this in your lap. On top of it, Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, probably one of the smartest financial investors in the history of the world, owns 3 direct selling companies, and he's quoted as saying, best investments I've ever made. Of all the investments in the direct selling companies were the best investments I made. Donald Trump, network marketing has proven itself to be a viable and rewarding source of income. It has stood the test of time. The late Stephen R. Covey, direct selling helps affirm people's worth and potential. You can open up a whole new alternative income stream, make a huge difference in their life. It's an entrepreneurial opportunity where people can use their talent, passion towards a greater good. So this is Andrew Carnegie again. He had a theory that he lived by, which is it's better to leverage other people, other people's ideas, other people's money, and other people's efforts. This is truly a business model that works in alignment with that philosophy, where you can make 1% on 100 people's efforts, then only 100% on only your effort all the time.